Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm continuing with my Wham and George Michael discography journey, and we have made it to the year 1996 when George Michael released his third studio album called Older. And I'm looking at the track list. None of the tracks look familiar to me, so I don't think I've heard a single track off this album. But like always, if I start listening to a song and it sounds familiar, I'll let you guys know. There are 11 tracks. It's 59 minutes, and I don't have much to say right now, so we're just gonna get right into it with track number one, Jesus to a Child. Okay, and that was track number one, Jesus to a Child. Oh my god, I loved the production and the atmosphere of this song. It was so relaxing. Like the title of this album suggests, I was definitely getting more of a mature vibe from this song. In the lyrics, he's saying, "And what have I learned from this pain? I thought I'd never feel the same about anyone or anything again, but now I know when you find your love, when you know that it exists, then the lover that you miss will come to you on those cold, cold nights." And at the very end, he says, "Well, I've been loved, so I know just what love is, and the lover that I kissed is always by my side. Oh, the lover I still miss was Jesus to a Child." I'm not even going to attempt to decipher these lyrics because I feel like I would be here for a while and we need to move on to the next song. But I mean, if you know the meaning behind these lyrics, let me know in the comments. I feel like when it comes to George Michael's lyrics, they're always in some ways cryptic and they could mean many things. I don't know much about George's life, but you guys do. So let me know in the comments. This is one of those songs you play when it's nighttime and it's dark and you're in a candlelit room and you're not focused on anything else but the music, and the atmosphere it sets is just so beautiful. So now let's move on to track number two, Fast Love Part 1. Okay, and that was track number two, Fast Love Part 1. Wow, I don't think I've heard a George Michael song like this before. It was definitely more R&B sounding. It was kind of reminding me of Janet Jackson. I feel like this could have been a song that Janet Jackson could have released back in the 90s. And I was having fun. I feel like the song also had some disco elements in it as well. It was definitely getting me up and moving, and it was getting me moving around and moving my body, so it was actually a lot of fun. He's saying, "But if you're looking for fast love, if that's love in your eyes, it's more than enough. I had some bad love. So fast love is all that I've got on my mind. So when he's saying so fast love is all that I've got on my mind, is he alluding to just hooking up, no strings attached? He doesn't want a long-term relationship. He also says, made my way into the sun, my friends got their ladies, they all have babies, but I just want to have some fun. So I get the sense that George doesn't want to settle down like all his friends. He doesn't want the kids. He wants to still have fun. He still wants to test the field. He wants to hook up still. He just wants to have some fun. And in the year 1996, he was 33 years old. So there's always an expectation by a certain age, especially if you're straight. You have to be settled down at a specific age. You have to have the wife, you have to have the husband, you have to have the kids, you have to have the white picket fence, you have to have the car, you have to have the good job. But this situation's a bit different because George is gay. So again, I've been asking this question in almost every single one of my George Michael videos. I don't know what his sexuality was like at this time in 1996. Was he more out of the closet? Was his sexuality more upfront? Especially in the gay community, there isn't that expectation to get married and to have a long-term relationship. Especially at this time in 1996, a gay marriage wasn't legal yet, so you couldn't even get married anyway. But even to this day, I mean, there's that stigma that gay culture is all about hooking up and not being in a long-term relationship. Or even if you are in a long-term monogamous relationship with someone, in the gay community, there's always an expectation, well, I'm dating someone, we're in a long-term relationship, but we still sleep with other people. We still invite other people over to our place and hook up with them, even though we're in a very committed relationship. And don't get me wrong, there are swingers in heterosexual relationships where couples that are heterosexual, a man and a woman, they do, hook up with other people. They have an understanding. They have that, what's it called? The hall pass. Is that what it's called? A hall pass, where you allow your spouse to sleep with someone once a year or something. But I feel like it's more of a well-known fact that it's more accepted in the gay community, or not necessarily accepted, but it's just, it happens a lot more. But anyway, let's move on to track number 3, Older. I should have known, it seemed too easy. Don't you think I'm looking older? And you're out of time, I'm letting go. Should have known, it seems so easy. I'm letting go. You'll be fine. You're out of time. I'm letting go. Okay, that was track number 3, Older, and there's something very polished and mature about this album. Like I said before, this does sound like a very mature sounding album, and I love the more jazz-inspired production on this song. It's so seductive. I love jazz music. I mean, I don't love it as much as I make it out to be, but I actually really do enjoy it. It's not something I listen to all the time, but it's just very pleasant to the ears, and I find it's very seductive, especially when it's combined with George's voice. It just, ugh. I mean, this album is a little somber, I will say. In this song, he's saying, I'm not the man that you want. I never should have looked back in your direction. I know that just the same old fights again. Baby, these are wasted days without affection. I'm not that foolish anymore, so you're out of time. I'm letting go. You'll be fine. Well, that much I know. You're out of time. I'm letting go. I'm not the man that you want. So he's letting go of this person. He doesn't want their affection anymore because they are not giving him affection anymore, and he's saying he should never have looked in their direction in the first place. They're just fighting, and It just seems like a very unfortunate relationship. This seems to be a common theme in a lot of George Michael songs where he seems to be in some sort of conflicted relationship where he doesn't want to be around them anymore, so he always has to say goodbye to them. I don't know, I get the impression that George probably said goodbye to a lot of people in his life. And I don't know. Do I think he might have had a lonely life? I don't know. But there's that stigma, again, that a lot of gay men do have a lonely life because of the lifestyle and what people portray to be as. And I don't think George was ever married. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, and it doesn't say he was married to anyone. But I do remember from when I was a kid that there was a scandal that I remember hearing people talk about, and it involved George and an undercover cop or something, and there was a bathroom involved, and that was how George was outed. Again, I was a kid, so I didn't pay much attention to it, but I just remember hearing about that scandal. And you know what? I'm gonna look it up right now. I usually wait for you guys to comment and for you guys to tell me, but I need to look it up right now. I'm actually reading right here that he was in a relationship with Philippa. Is that how you pronounce their name? Was shrouded in innuendo and speculation, as Michael had not confirmed he was homosexual and did not do so until 1998, which was 2 years after this album was released. The video for Jesus to a Child was a picture of images recalling loss, pain, and suffering. And yes, in April of 1998, George Michael was caught engaging in a sexual act by an undercover police officer in a public toilet in Beverly Hills, which was the year he apparently came out, so I mean, I did want to bring it up, but I feel like I have to because I am going on this George Michael discography journey, and I just have so many questions about his life. And I do remember this moment. I was 8 years old, and I do remember hearing about this through people and the news. So if you guys know a bit more about his life between 1996 and 1998, you can leave a comment. I feel like I could research it more. I just feel like it's going to be a rabbit hole. I'm going to get sucked down, so I don't want to do it right now. But leave a comment and let me know. So now let's move on to track number 4, Spinning the Wheel. Okay, and that was track number 4, Spinning the Wheel. And this was another jazz-sounding song, and I like the production. Once again, I'm really liking the production on this album so far. Even though I feel like it is a bit somber, I feel like you have to be in the right mood to listen to this album. And it's very interesting. I like the lyrics once again. He's saying, you've got a thing about danger, you got a thing about strangers, baby, that's what we used to be. I don't want to go back there. And then he goes on to say, you say, give me time and I'll do better, I swear. Give me time and I'll lead you back to despair. You've got to think about danger. 5 o'clock in the morning, you ain't home. I can't help thinking that's strange. So again, we're continuing the story of some sort of horrible relationship he seems to be in. He seems to be neglected and not wanted, and he's growing tired and frustrated, and he's falling out of love with this person, if he ever loved them to begin with. And this was another good song. I enjoyed it. Again, I feel like you have to be in a particular mindset and mood to listen to this album, just from the vibe it's giving off. So let's move on to track number 5, It Doesn't Really Matter. Okay, and that was track number 5. It doesn't really matter, and we're continuing with the more jazz sounding production, which I like. I have no problem with. I feel like it goes really well with George's voice, and it's a nice change for George as well. And it's definitely putting me in a unique mindset, and it's setting an interesting atmosphere for when I'm listening to this album. We're also continuing the story of his strained relationship because time's a thief, and I believe that I'm too old for that. We're just saying the same things that we've said before. So now that he's a bit more older and a bit more wiser, he's saying, I'm too old for that. We're just saying the things that we've said forever. Doesn't really matter that I loved you. This is a sad album, I will say. So in the end, he's saying it just doesn't really matter. It just doesn't really matter. That is so tragic. I feel like out of all the songs I've listened to so far, this one might be my least favorite out of the 5 I've listened to so far. But just because it's my least favorite doesn't mean I don't like it. I still enjoy listening to it. Just out of all the tracks I've listened to so far, this one's probably the one I care least for. So now let's move on to track number 6, The Strangest Thing. Okay, and that was track number 6, The Strangest Thing. I really enjoyed this song. This is probably one of my favorites on the album so far. I like the production, like all the other songs, and I was picking up on, how do I word this? It was more Indian sounded. Is that the right terminology? It sounded, very East Indian, what have you. And I really enjoyed the production of this song. It was very calming, and there was something about it that really just kind of transported me somewhere. It kind of reminded me of the aesthetic of Madonna's Ray of Light album, even though that album came out after this one. And once again, I love the lyrics. Give me something to believe in. I'm frightened for my soul. Make love to me. Send love through me. Heal me with your crime. The only one who ever knew me. We've wasted so much time, so much time. So if you guys know the whole story behind this album, or bits and pieces of the story, let me know in the comments. But I definitely am picking up a theme of a relationship that's gone sour. So let's move on to track number 7, To Be Forgiven. Okay, and that was track number 7, To Be Forgiven. And I feel like this song is more straightforward. It's more easily decipherable than some of his other songs. He's talking about, obviously, he wants to be forgiven for his sins, and he's using the allegory of water, of not wanting to drown, or maybe he feels like he's drowning. He's saying the cold, cold water is rushing in. I'm going down, and I would beg to be forgiven if I knew my sin. Save me, I'm going down. So he's cried out for help. He wants to be saved. He's drowning. Save me from myself. Won't you help me? I hear the sound of a memory. Maybe time will tell. Suddenly my life is like a river taking me places I don't want to go. It takes all that I have just to cry for help. Then that voice in my head tells me no, I'm going down. This is so sad. I mean, he doesn't seem to be in the happiest place when recording this album. You know, with the relationship or relationships he seems to be talking about, which seems very toxic, and now he's saying, I'm going down, I need help, I want to be forgiven, you know, for my sins. If I knew my sins, save me. And he wants forgiveness, and this is just a very it's a very sad album. And my heart does ache for George. It really does. Just knowing what he must have gone through his entire life, starting with Wham, and then his career as a solo artist, starting with Faith, and then into the early 90s, and now as a more mature man who's in his mid 30s, and also struggling with his sexuality, or maybe not necessarily struggling with it, but just wishing that his sexuality wasn't an issue. Like so many people wish. So many gay people wish that their sexuality wasn't an issue. They just wish they could just be who they are and they don't have to worry about people judging them and looking at them differently because of their sexuality. This album is it's kind of taking the breath out of me, I will say. This album definitely is a bit of a workout to listen to. And when I say a workout, it's not energizing, it's not upbeat. I'm not moving my body around. I'm not spraying my face with this water bottle. But it's exhausting reading the lyrics and trying to understand what they mean and the overall production and the more somber tone. And it is a little overwhelming. So now let's move on to track number 8, Move On. Okay, and that was track number 8, Move On. And this song, I feel like, was pretty straightforward. I mean, he's talking about putting the past behind him, putting the tears behind him, moving on with his life. He's saying, I think of all the days and nights I spent crying until my angels set me free. Move on, I'm gonna be in love someday. Whether he finds love again, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into his life and to see where it went after this album was released. But it says I'm gonna be in love someday. It doesn't say I'm gonna be in love again someday. So was he ever in love? And is he still searching for that one person that he could fall in love with? So maybe he was never in love ever in his life, and he's still searching for love, which if he never was in love before, that in itself is just heartbreaking. Just listening to all his albums up until now, I just always get the sense that there's something wrong about his relationships where it just never works out for him. And it sucks. I do want George to be happy and in love, but after going through all his albums, it just always seems like there's drama and toxicity, and it just always seems to end on a negative note. But anyway, let's move on to track number 9, Star People. Okay, and that was track number 9, Star People, and I actually really enjoyed this song. It was more R&B, disco sounding, which I really liked, and I feel like, I mean, when I read the title of the track, Star People, I thought of celebrities, star people, celebrities are stars, I get the impression he might be talking about celebrities, famous people, maybe someone famous in particular. He's saying, do you have a little tale to tell? That fame and fortune, seven sins, and who gives a fuck about your problems, darling, because you can pay the rent. Say how much is enough. Maybe your mama gave you up, boy. Maybe your daddy did love you enough, girl. Counting your money until your soul turns green. I don't know. I feel like he's speaking to celebrity culture, famous people, star people, maybe someone in particular. But the lyrics are kind of alluding to that. I mean, like always, it could mean something else, but that's kind of what I'm picking up. You may have been living in a dream, and as the demons tower above you, you bite your tongue when you really want to scream. How much is enough? So now let's move on to track number 10, You Have Been Loved. She takes the back road and the lane past the school that has not changed. That man, for what's the use in pressing bones when children fade in mother's arms? We rarely choose, and I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Don't think that God is dead. Okay, and that was track number 10, You Have Been Loved. I can't with these lyrics. I mean, this whole album is just tugging at my heartstrings and so emotional. This song, I feel like, might be about death. Someone has died. Like, again, it can mean so many things. I think George's lyrics they can be so cryptic at times that something so obvious might not be so obvious when it comes to the story he's telling. I definitely do feel like this song is about some sort of loss. Maybe someone who hasn't necessarily died, but some sort of loss of someone. He's saying, don't think that God is dead. Take care, my love, she said. You have been loved. If I was weak, forgive me, but I was terrified. You brushed my eyes with angel's wings, full of love. The kind that makes devils cry. I mean, who writes lyrics like that? Who writes lyrics like that? George Michael does. George Michael does, and that's why I love his lyrics so much. Oh, I cannot with this album anymore. I just can't. It's too much. It's too much. I'm getting so overwhelmed. And like I said before, this album is exhausting. I don't know how this album could be exhausting for me to listen to, but it is exhausting. There's just so much emotion and so much happening and just... Anyway, we've come to the end of the album, track number 11, Free. There's only one line of lyrics. Okay, and that was track number 11, Free, and there was only one line of lyrics for the song, and it was Feels Good to Be Free, which he said at the very end. He almost whispered it. And it's a very optimistic way to wrap up this album, which I feel like was an odyssey. And he said feels good to be free. So now maybe he can finally spread his wings and find that love that he's always wanted. And perhaps he doesn't feel confined or restricted, or maybe he doesn't feel like he's in the prison anymore. Maybe he feels like he can go onward. I mean, he said he feels good to be free, so he said he's free. So I feel very happy for him, especially everything I've listened to on this album, all the lyrics and everything that he went through relationship-wise and his life and everything. I mean, so much was happening. So that is the entirety of Older, the album by George Michael from 1996. And I didn't know what to expect going to this album. Like always, I feel like with most albums, I don't really ever know what to expect. And this kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this vibe. Once again, I hate using that word, but I have to use it. The atmosphere, and at times this album felt haunting, and I love the production. I like how he was playing around with different genres like R&B, and there was a lot of jazz, which I absolutely was not expecting, but I love it. And the lyrics, once again, are as cryptic as ever. I don't know, I find his lyrics quite cryptic, so I don't know about you, but I definitely need to take a magnifying glass and be like, what's he saying? Anyway, so beautiful and so delicate and tender. I mean, I always love George Michael's lyrics, and this definitely does sound like a more mature and polished album. He seems a bit more wise, though he does seem conflicted in some sort of relationship. Like always, I feel like this is a running theme through a lot of his albums where he's in an unhappy relationship. But there's also optimism, like I said, with track number 11, Free, and track number 8, Move On. There's a sense of he's finally kind of just moving on. He's kind of putting the tears and bullshit behind him, and he's just continuing on with his life. So after listening to the album in its entirety, is this my favorite George Michael album? It's not my favorite out of the 3 albums he's released so far, but I could really appreciate what he was going for. I appreciate the aesthetic, the experimental production. He was trying new things. And it was a very interesting. I like the atmosphere it set. It just was very soothing at times, and at times it was haunting, and I really enjoyed that. Obviously, this album isn't the most commercial album in the world. It's, it doesn't have the catchy hooks. It doesn't have the songs you'd hear on the radio. It doesn't have, the top 10 singles. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how well this album did. I'm actually going to look that up quickly. Older was a huge commercial success, especially in the European markets. It debuted at number 1 with an impressive 281,000 copies, becoming one of the biggest debuts ever in British history. In the United States, however, the album somewhat stalled and was received with lukewarm success. This always happens. Like, the US always has negative reception to UK artists. I mean, the same thing happened with Kylie Minogue. Like, the US wasn't receptive to her, and now George Michael. So it looks like this album was very successful in the UK, but it wasn't in North America. So what do you guys think of the album? How does this compare to other George Michael albums? Is it your favorite? Is it your least favorite? Did you love this album? Maybe you hated this album. Tell me why. What are your favorite tracks? This definitely won't be a George Michael album I will go back to all the time. I definitely have to be in the right mood and mindset to really digest an album like this. I just like how classic sounding it is, and it's very mature and polished, and that's one of the reasons why I do enjoy this album. So I think that's all I wanted to say. We will be continuing on with my Wham and George Michael discography journey in the next video in this series, which will be his next album from 1999 called Songs from the Last Century. This is his 4th album. And it looks like it is a covers album. And it looks like it's gonna consist of jazz music, which I said I liked the jazz production on this album older, so I'm glad he's continuing with the jazz theme in his next album. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to the fact that it is a covers album, so I don't know how I'm leaning towards that, especially the songs. I mean, I haven't heard many of the songs on this covers album. I haven't heard many of the original versions of the songs. I heard Roxanne, but all the other ones are a little iffy. I don't think I've heard any of the other original versions of these covers. But nonetheless, I'm still excited because it is a George Michael album. So thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can tell me other artists I should check out. I'm open to any artist from any from any decade, and you get the drill. Anyway, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.